Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Unpolitical But Political podcast. I hope you guys are well. Um, Today is a very interesting topic. Um, I did post my social media episode, I think on Sunday of last week, or I believe it was Sunday, because that's when I went to go and get my haircut, or I think it was on Saturday. I can't remember when I posted it, but I remember I did post it. But today I wanted to talk about something. I wrote this in my notes because it is something that I want to talk about, and I guess it kind of ties into my thought process this morning. I woke up with not a lot on my mind, but I woke up with an idea that I wanted to talk about this. And the first thing that came to my head was that, I feel like for a long time, I've been trying to carry the burden of other people. Like, I've just gotten to a place now where it's just like, I'm not gonna fixate my life on trying to carry the burden and be held responsible for carrying someone else's burden. Like, I feel like now it's gotten to a place where if you know that you just can't hold accountability or responsibility for anything that you should be holding accountability and responsibility for, then why am I the one to be made to feel like I should be responsible, Like, at the end of the day, you have all this time to seek therapy and go and work on yourself. But instead, you now decide that maybe it's best that you make people a part of your problems and you inflict your pain that you refuse to get help on other people, And I think it's unfair because now that person has to walk away feeling like they are a prominence to your issue, And I think now it just gets to the point where it's just like, at the end of the day, the rope has to break. Like, you can't keep holding on to people who lack accountability and lack responsibility and don't want to work on themselves the way that they should. And I feel like a lot of the time when I do address how I feel in certain situations or do bring how I feel to light, I feel like a lot of people get upset at the fact that I've now brought up how I feel, and because they lack accountability and responsibility, they no longer want to be responsible for their actions. And now I've just gotten to a place where it's just like, okay, you don't want to hold accountability, you don't want to hold responsibility, so now I'm not going to be the one. Like, at the end of the day, that's your burden to carry. Like, I'm not going to waste my life trying to explain and prove and trying to further perpetuate this narrative that, like, I want you to care and I want you to not care, but, like, I want you to, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I'm not going to force you to hold accountability or responsibility, If I tell someone how I feel, it shouldn't be, if it bothers you, then in some way you just need help and some sort of, you just need help and therapy, Sometimes you need clarity to help to understand why you are the way you are. And, I feel like there's certain individuals that are dealing with a lot of things and they're trying to make me a part of their problem, And it's just like, I'm not the one that has to carry this burden for you. I'm not going to try and fix something I didn't break. I'm not going to put my life on the line because you don't want to take the steps to improve yourself as a person. So therefore, you try everything in your God-given power to try and make me someone that I'm not, because you don't want to hold accountability for your own problems. At the end of the day, I've done all that I can to be a good person for these people, and I've partook in a lot of good things for people, and I feel like it's never reciprocated, for one, and two, I know that's not my problem, my issue. I know it's a problem that they're carrying for themselves, and it's their own reflection of their own issues. And yeah, like, a lot of it's just like inflicting pain and problems onto me because you have something going on in your life that you don't want to admit to, and I'm not going to be held responsible for carrying the weight of someone else's pain and damage that I no longer partook in, you know. At the end of the day, I have my own life. I have my own responsibilities that I need to take care of. I'm not going to spend my days and my time trying to fix something I didn't break, you know. And I'm not going to apologize for how I feel, what I feel, or I'm not really going to, like, feel bad or get to a point where I start to feel sorry for others because I've spoken to them about how I feel, you know. I don't have empathy or compassion for anyone like that. Anyone who feels the need to inflict their pain and trauma dump onto somebody else and then lack accountability and responsibility and then make that person feel bad because you don't want to work on yourself, you know. And I also think that, like, I've gained a lot of emotional resilience because now I've come to the point where I'm like, if you don't want to hold accountability, I mean, who am I to force that down your throat? At the end of the day, you're a grown woman, you're a grown man or woman. At the end of the day, it's now your choice to take the steps to work on yourself, you know? So that's how I feel. And I feel like a lot of this kind of goes into arrogance and ignorance because, like, if I have to keep wasting my time explaining and proving and beating myself up over people who lack understanding, then I'm just hurting myself. And honestly, it just proves my point with this topic that, like, I'm so over it because now it just feels like it's like a lose-lose situation. Like, no matter how you go about it or how you decide to go about it, it just, like, nothing ever changes. And now it just feels like, because realistically this person knows what they're doing. Like, they know exactly what they're doing. Like, I shouldn't have to go around in circles and repeat myself and hold people accountable for their wrongdoings and tie myself up in a knot because they don't want to hold accountability, you know. And another thing is like, if you feel the need to, I've said this so many times and I will continue to say it again, but if people feel the need to make me look bad every time and it spread exaggerated rumors on my behalf and diminish my character and create exaggerated narratives and, you know, to essentially solidify their reputation and their ego, then in my book, you're just a demented somewhat of a human being because, like, what makes you feel the need to, like, you clearly, that's what I'm saying when people lack understanding, because you know exactly what someone is saying, but you choose to run with such a false narrative and such a false perception of them that is so like, it's not even true, you know? And I use this thing where I say, like, the narrative is so 180 and the rumors are so 360. Like, people can spin your words so fast and create a narrative so fast that they would rather run with that than hear someone else's side of the story, you know? And that's how I sort of think about it. Like, if you feel the need to spread a narrative 180 and twist someone's words 360 so it suits your side and it benefits you, and then you can look like the innocent one and play victim. I'm sorry, but there's a special place in hell for people like that. Like, I just don't understand where this narrative comes from and why you feel the need to do stuff like that, you know? What else? I feel like a lot of this comes from insensitivity and someone else's burden is not mine to carry. Especially when it comes to like toxicity, it feels like a lot of the time they try to make you a part of their problems by blaming things on you and like pointing fingers, and just like I'm just over it, you know. And now, like, I've just gotten to a point in my life where I'm like, do you know what? I'm just going to do what makes me happy and do what makes me happy in whatever way I can, whether that be going to the gym or, like, going for a walk or talking to my cousin or whatever it is. Like, so long as I'm not involved in people's toxic shit, then I'm good, you know? And that's what, like, at the end of the day, I know what I've done to be a good person to these people and to anyone in general, and like that's not going to change, because at the end of the day the truth will prevail. Like, I don't even have to like say too much, you know. And yeah, like these people like that in this life will never go nowhere. They will never go nowhere because they're so quick to point fingers. They lack accountability. They lack understanding. They don't want to hold responsibility. They're very quick to tarnish someone else's character and name so it looks good on their side and fits their narrative. But at the end of the day, people will only gravitate towards the truth. And, you know, yeah, like, there's not really much that you can do. And yeah, that's just how I feel. And I feel like now I've gotten to a place that I've built more emotional resilience, that I feel like I've come to clarity now where I'm just like, this is just the pill that I have to swallow, and I have to understand that their burden is not mine to carry. Their pain and suffering is not my responsibility. I'm no longer responsible for something I didn't break, and I'm no longer responsible for something I no longer partook in. And they're just those are the type of people that just need to work on themselves, and they just need to find a better solution to their problems and go and work on it, you know. But I'm not gonna put myself through more than what I've already dealt with, you know. And that's just how I feel. And that's really it, because at the end of the day, like, the rope is going to have to break, and it doesn't matter who these people are to you. You don't allow or endure toxic attributes from people, you know, like, because then again, you're just going to further perpetuate this narrative that everything is fine, and like, you are now tolerating and further justifying their issues and their problems, knowing damn well that it's gonna it's gonna hurt you, it's gonna emotionally damage you, it's gonna put you through trauma, and you're just gonna like explode. So I just don't see the point in like further perpetuating this narrative that like, because they're family, or because they're my friend, or because they're my cousin, or because they're a spouse, or whatever it is, or because they're your mum's husband or your dad's wife. It doesn't really matter who they are to you, you know. You just don't justify that shit. But that's mainly it, and that's how I feel. But yeah, I'm just not going to be the one to carry the responsibilities of other people's pain. And that's it, you know. That's how I feel. And yeah, So, and I guess it's gonna be like one of those things where you're just gonna have to come to an acceptance and just like move on from it. But you have to also remember that that's not like your pain. You're not responsible for any of that, and yeah, it's just something that they're gonna have to work on with that, like by themselves. But I'm not gonna be responsible for people's pain, burden, suffering. Like, you're not gonna make me a part of your problems because you lack accountability, you know. But yeah, that was mainly it, and thanks for listening, and I will see you guys on the next one.